Last time, I started making some real progress in the underworld beyond the first couple of dungeons, but had also hit a big difficulty spike in level 6. I got deep into the northern part of the dungeon, but hadn't been prepared with a potion to help carry me through the tight quarters and plentiful wizrobes that defined what must be the last few rooms before the boss. I'd also lost my magic shield. I decided to leave the trials of this area behind for a bit. I went to check the graveyard to see if I could obtain the final sword with my latest heart container, but it was still locked to me. I didn't really know what to do next. I headed back to the Eastern Forest Ferry to heal up, and started retreading old ground, fairly aimlessly. This didn't seem like much of a strategy, but it turned out I hadn't been as thorough exploring the forest as I thought, and I'd stumble across something that would renew my progress. All this time, it turned out I'd simply missed the entrance to level 2 just a few screens to the east of level 1. There's only a single entrance to it from the western edge of an unassuming forest screen, but I certainly scolded myself for not exploring nearly as systematically as I'd planned when I started out. At this point in the game, level 2 was a breeze, and I skated through it. The boss was a single Dodongo, which would have been a useful fight to learn from had I found it prior to level 5. But with the knowledge from that level at least, this was no problem. I think the main prize here was the heart container, as far as giving me hope in returning to level 6 and the levels beyond it. I also picked up the magical boomerang, which increased the boomerang's throwing range. Since I was in the Eastern Forest and feeling bolder, without a great deal of justification, I decided it'd be worthwhile to stop by level 8, since it was nearby and I was stocked up on health and bombs. When I discovered level 8 fairly early on, I poked my head into a couple of rooms and decided I should come back later. I wondered how much further I could get now. Not far, it turned out. At least not comfortably. But to my surprise, I didn't have to get far to pick up an item. I explored the rooms immediately around the entrance, picking up a key and taking on some mini-bosses. It was to the west that the path was a little longer, and led me to the item room staircase, quite close to the beginning. An apparent boon, I hoped for another tool to increase my power and make things easier going forward. But the item was the magic book. The book wasn't immediately usable. The manual indicated it augments the magic wand, an item I didn't have. A little crestfallen, I backtracked toward the entrance, but couldn't find a clear path into the rest of the dungeon. I figured there must surely be some false walls, and found one to the north of the entrance leading to a room that would immediately block my progress. Full of fire-spitting statues and a demoralizing number of blue knights, plus 2 locked doors requiring the room to be cleared, I retreated with just the magic book in hand. I probably could have bombed my way through here, but decided it wasn't worth the cost. I guess one positive was that I hadn't run into any more wizrobes yet. With a red potion in hand and one more heart container, I vowed to return to level 6, hoping these would be enough to carry me through the remaining rooms. Of course, having exited, I'd need to clear out the most dangerous rooms once again to reach the areas I'd yet to explore, but at least I knew that the 3-headed dragon mini-boss would not be back to block my path. On my way back to the dungeon, I made another stop by the graveyard and found I still was unable to pick up the final sword. While the first sword upgrade came fairly quickly, this one certainly seemed to require quite a few hearts. I only had a few dungeons to go. I made my way back to the deepest parts of level 6 easily enough, I guess. The item here had eluded me previously, but it turned out I'd been very close to it when I decided to head back outside for a while. There's a conspicuous room just north of where the map is found. This appears to be a dead end, but also has a more manageable number of enemies. I cleared these enemies, and a staircase revealed itself. The item turned out to be the magic wand, the item I just gotten the magic book for. Playing around with the wand, it proved to be yet another ranged attack option, and a free one at that. But it also created a dangerous obstacle for me, given how the fire lingered. The attack also wouldn't burst into flame unless it reached the end of the screen or hit an enemy directly. This seemed useful enough, situationally at least, but likely wouldn't replace my trusty boomerang most of the time. To my disappointment, it didn't really seem to be especially effective against the wizrobes. With the item now in hand at least, I kept pushing through the remaining rooms to see what I could find. There remained a number of difficult ones, but the path of least resistance took me further west and ultimately to another clue room where an old man told me there are secrets where fairies don't live. This immediately made me think of the empty fairy fountain in the burnt woods. I had poked around there previously but not found anything. This was confirmation there must be some special interaction there. I was so excited by this that I actually left level 6 again. I don't remember if this was for a justifiable purpose, like needing to replenish my potion, or if I was just using any excuse to get out of there again. But for brevity, let me just say that I did return again to level 6 and forced my way through the remaining rooms to find the staircase, access the final rooms of the dungeon, including the boss. Wanting to fully explore, I went into every room, and let me just warn you that there's a room 2 steps south of the boss that is basically a trap. There's no reason to go in here, but that can't be known until you do. Movement is limited by lava, and there are many wizrobes. I nearly died here despite entering with full health. This is level 6's last attempt to body you back to the entrance, just as you're about at the very end. Escaping this, I ran for the boss, used my last potion to fully heal, and entered remembering level 6's first clue obtained early on, to aim at the eyes of Goma. I had my bow at the ready, not sure if I recalled this fight from some past life, or if the bow just seemed like the obvious weapon to aim with. I took a little time, taking in my surroundings in here and getting comfortable, but it didn't take much to land a shot to the eye of the Goma, and that was all it took. I guess this fight is a bit of a reward after the imposing challenge this dungeon puts forward all the way up until this point. Finally, level 6 complete. As always, there is more to this story. Thank you so much for watching for now. I'll have another update soon. And until then, take care.